the adapter, director, and sound designer for No Exit.
I'm Kate McManus, and I'm playing Estelle Toussaint.
I'm Kathryn Kuhn, and I'll be playing Inez Abreu.
Hi, I'm Brian Fullford, and I am the dramaturg for No Exit.
Lumen Rep Theater, we say we are Northeast Florida's definitive theater experience, filling empty spaces with possibilities through bold professional productions. And this production hits all those lows. This cast is a definitive cast in Northeast Florida. The level of professionalism and the cohesiveness and the chemistry, you just don't get this very often here in Northeast Florida. So it's a treat. Also, we are filling an empty space, literally the void of the theater space, with this snapshot of three people's lives, which might also reflect our own lives. And the possibility is that we living people can exit from our bad habits of how we live life less than essential. At Lumen Rep, we have a theme for this season, which is illuminate. And this play very much illuminates things that I think even we who are involved in the production will find as we are going through rehearsal. And for the audience, it's going to illuminate some incredibly important things about life. So we're excited about that. It also follows on the heels of a very different play, Shakespeare, which had audiences rolling in the aisles, literally, with improvised Shakespeare at a level unseen around here. And all of our cast in No Exit were part of Shakespeare. How do you take that flip from Shakespeare to something like Sartre and No Exit?
I think it's so important because, in Shakespeare, we were having to direct address the audience. We were having to go off the fly. We were getting to see immersive theater in Jacksonville, for me, the first time, and doing it here. And I think all of that relates to the human experience and how to connect with audiences. And, Shakespeare is elevated speech and themes, and, well, maybe themes aren't so elevated, but, to go into No Exit after that, it has a lot of high concepts and also base, raw, hedonistic, human elements, which are what Shakespeare's all about. So I'm excited to see how we integrate the level of comfort we've already established with each other from doing something so off the wall, together before.
Yeah, I'm excited for our chemistry that we built upon in this play, and I'm excited for those that saw Shakespeare or didn't to come and see a totally different situation. We were ourselves and Shakespearean characters, kind of bent them before together, and now we will just be
living as those characters or dying as those characters.
So, Brian, why don't you tell us about existentialism? Sartre was a famous existentialist philosopher. Why is he writing a play?
Yeah, so Sartre was looking at this, what he considered this problem of people believing that essence precedes existence, that somehow we're endowed with certain things prima facie, right? That we're born with ideas, we're born with personalities. And for the existentialist, existence precedes essence, which means that we're thrown into the world and we move through the world, and that then defines who we are. And then through that, we also define our own world. And what Sartre is also doing here is he's acknowledging that in order for me to define myself, it always requires another and other. Right. And there's this question of, how do I trust the other to actually do, are they honest when they're assessing who I am? Am I being honest in assessing who I am? There's two concepts that he brings into play here, which is the transcendental, which is the future, and I just forgot what the term was, which is the past. But we look at the past to see who we were, factoids, thank you, and then we decide how we're going to act moving forward. And if there's any discrepancy there, then to use a Heideggerian term, we're not being authentic. Sartre would call it bad faith, and you could probably look at social media.
Yes, he's describing social media decades before social media, where we get caught in this trap of I'm putting forth a false self lots of times, and I can't stop putting that out there. And I don't trust what you say about what I say, even if my false self is the one being put out there. but I still need you to like my post, and I need to feel validated by that.
Well, it's interesting to me because as you're saying this, I'm realizing, something I've taken away from reading the play as many times as I have now is that all of the characters sort of are faced with what they did in the real world in hell. And so Inez is looking for the torturer. She's where's the torturer? Well, she was the torturer in her life. She tortured her cousin by making his girlfriend fall in love with her and manipulated that girl to the point where she wanted to kill herself. Renaud, he was so afraid of harm to himself that he ran away from everything in his life and tortured those around him. He's trying to escape hell and leave the two women to their own devices. Estelle is so conceited and only wants what she wants and what serves her in that moment, and to feel beautiful by other men. And that is all she is seeking, is a mirror, is validation in hell. And so it's interesting to me because as an actor, I look at it and I'm like, yes, hell is other people, but also hell is how you've defined yourself in the world, and the lessons you never learn if you just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over.
And what's interesting here, I love how you frame that, because hell is other people, hell is ourselves. Because for Sartre, this was a negative take on this freedom we have. Another one of his plays, I think it's called The Flies, is more of a positive, take on what freedom looks like. But you're absolutely correct, is that Sartre wants us to consider this question of being free and what is our obligation to being free. And if we want to be authentic, if we want to have good faith, we look back on our lives and we think, oh yeah, these are the decisions I made, so this is who I am, but I don't have to be that in the future. Whereas
I'll be a better person.
Right. Whereas as you've noted, all the characters are sort of really denying, how did you get here? Oh, well, I died in an explosion.
Yeah.
Really? How did that happen? I don't remember. I don't think that's
the only good posts on social media.
Right.
So two who are playing characters, I'd be interested. We can start with you, Kate, playing Estelle, Kathryn playing Inez. I'd be interested, as Brian mentions, play is overall sort of a negative lens, although we do find some hope and we find some humor, which maybe we'll talk about here without spoiling anything. I'd be interested to know, as actors, how do you identify with these? What draws you to the character that you're?
I feel super sympathetic actually with Estelle, and like we were talking about the mirror. It's funny, actually, something that I took away this last reading that I did. I was thinking about something that had just happened to me. I was with two close friends, and we were hanging out and talking for like 30 minutes before one of them was like, "Kate, you have something in your teeth, like it's really bad." And I was like, "Dude," and I, looked, and it was like really bad, like really. I was like, "What the hell is that?" I know. And they were like, "Yeah, I'm not excited." They were like,
"You don't have anything in your teeth now."
Yeah. And I was like, and it was fine. But then I was like later thinking about it, and I was like, I was like rehashing like what I had said. And I was like, man, it really is embarrassing to think if you like spoke ill of anyone else or like said anything critical. I was like, that would be like extra embarrassing if you're looking at it through the lens of you had something in your teeth, like one asshole. Yeah. And I'm not quite sure how that relates, but I think there's something there with it.
With Estelle, yeah.
Yeah, like the lens that other people see you, that you see yourself through other people.
Knowing the self-consciousness that can come from the vulnerability of not being able to monitor yourself at all times,
Yeah, so I'm really curious. You just use the word monitor, and that just clicked something in my head. I want to go to the mirror, right? Because the characters, there's a necessary attraction, right? And there's a validation. Do you have any thoughts on that?
On my end.
Yeah, true. But do you think that she is somehow, that she's attracted to you in a way that's not necessarily love, but is like, I have no mirror, I need you to tell me who I am?
I think that's how, personally, I take it that, that's probably something you should answer, but I see it as, there's something interesting that's going on in the play to me, which is that, and you sort of touched on this earlier, it's that there are moments where they all try to go off and be by themselves and not talk to each other and make their own way and like, fine, we'll just all be quiet and we'll be better, you know? And then they all, over the course of the play, almost have to and want to turn to each other and to come together as a group to find their ways out. They are united by a common goal of, how did I get here? How do I get out? You know? And I think that particularly Estelle with Inez is like, well, if I can't get attention from the man here, like I will take any attention because that's what her character needs. And sort of something I see in the show is that all of them need something specific and they can't get it from anyone in the room, or what they want from a particular person in the room, that person is unwilling to give to them.
It happens to be the wrong community.
Yes.
But therein is the hope in our take that if hell is other people, that heaven has the potential to be other people too, if it's the right community. And there's that longing for connection. Sartre wrote a very amazing essay called Existentialism is a Humanism, because he was critiqued in his take on existentialism that there was no middle way. It was too extreme. He's like, well, it's a humanism, which means it takes humans to find what our essence is together. We exist, but I cannot find my essence in a vacuum. I need you. And maybe I don't need you. Maybe it's you or you. I need to find that community, but there is still that desire, that strong desire to be with other people, and hopefully the right people. Unfortunately, in this play, it ends up not being the right people that you're forced into community with, but to find your community of people who help you find your essence, and you reciprocate in turn, help to find their essence. And I hope that's part of the hope of our presentation.
Well, and actually Estelle sort of is the person who is the character that starts that search for the heaven in others, because Estelle's really the one who's like, so if we have to live together, let's introduce ourselves. Like, who are you? Like, let's make the best of a situation. And Renaud is stuck being like, looking out the door, being like, how do I get out? And Inez is like, hell with all of you. Like, we're stuck here and I'm just going to mess with everyone.
And back to the mirror question, I think with Estelle and Inez, I think also I literally need you in a very literal sense to tell me, is my makeup okay? You know, what do I look like? But then I come back and say, wait, do you have my taste? Like, I don't know if I want your validation. I don't know if that's the validation.
Well, and then ultimately you go to try to murder me. Which is crazy to me, because it's another thing of like, and I don't want to give away everything, but if you know I know exit, you know no exit. You know, you killed to get what you wanted in life, and then you, or because you had something you didn't want, and then in the end of the play, you have something you don't want, me torturing you and making things too real, and you go to try to kill me. So it's interesting to me because I over and over again see the theme of like, they learned nothing in life. They didn't grow as a person. And so they're doomed to repeat the same over and over. And in theory, forever.
Yeah, they are slowly pulling away some of the layers. I mean, we do get to some of the real essence of these people, even if once they touch on it, each character sort of pulls away from like, oh, that's who I really am. I don't want to be who I really am.
When I just realized, like, this just came to me, but as they're making progress near the end and like owning up to what they did and being more present with each other and turning into more of a community, Renaud is able to get the door open, and the door is open and he can't step through it, therefore repeating his cowardice again.
Philosophically, tell us about that.
Yeah, no, I was saying that's actually a really big deal.
Yeah.
And it's super cool that you brought that up, because I was actually going through the script here trying to find something, because it was something that Renaud had said towards the end. He can't leave because he can't accept the freedom to leave. he is bound to the other. And if he goes out that door, he's accepting full responsibility for his actions. And that's not something he's capable of doing. And again, this is why this is a negative context. Is I actually do like that we can interpret this as sort of a way to get us into the quote unquote heaven. But I think about it this way. Are you familiar with the do-it-yourself punk rock ethos?
Explain it to the audience.
So basically, it's this idea that, with punk rock's coming around, no one really cared about it, and so they had to do their own fanzines, they had to press their own music, they had to, book their own gigs, right? And so there's something beautiful. I find something beautiful about the punk rock ethos, which is, okay, well, I'm going to throw myself into the world. I'm going to accept my responsibility as a free being, and whatever happens, happens.
It's kind of like the professional theater ethos in Northeast Florida. We're going to do it. But I find a way to force ourselves.
Yeah, and then you'll give us money because we're just that good. Yeah,
It's that good. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but that's what's Renault could walk out the door, but Sartre's not going to allow him to do that because Sartre wants to let us know that. And I guess it's important to talk about the historical context post World War II, and whatnot, and maybe this is an observation on the women in France who sided with the Nazis and then were ostracized for it. Maybe that's his way of saying, well, no, you had the opportunity not to side with them.
In other words, originally.
Right. Another conversation. It's a complex issue. It's just not that simple. But yeah, Renault, and none of them can do that. And that's why I was kind of interested in how you two felt about almost a concept of love that's going on between these three people, because I think it can feel like love. It can philosophically look like this need, but the need is never genuine. It's always serving this weird purpose of, well, if you show me something that looks like love, then you validated me and that's cool. But now I can't detach myself from you because I'm bound to it.
Right. Well, I think ultimately they are all endlessly selfish. Like even Inez being so attracted to Estelle, I genuinely believe that has nothing to do with Estelle. It has to do with what I want, and I want to control others because I don't have control over what I get to do. And I think she's very much so a realist. And she's the first one to sort of suss out, like, she's looking for the torturer. She realizes there is no torturer. So she quickly realizes if there is no torturer, then we're the torturers. We're torturing each other. And so she tries to distract herself by going to what she did in her life all of the time, trying to feel up by manipulating another person into loving her or throwing herself into lust, right? And when it doesn't work out, she is driven mad, right? They're all so self-serving. And when it doesn't work out for them, they can't function, You need affection Estelle needs affection from a manly man, right? Well, unfortunately, Renault is not a manly man, but he's a man, so he'll do, right? And when he can't give that to you because I'm watching, you go crazy, you want to get rid of me, right? He drops you when he realizes, like, you're not going to be able to help him out. And he goes to Inez and he's like, all right, well, maybe I have to convince her that I'm not a coward. And then when the door opens and he has an opportunity to show he's not a coward, he's a coward. Yeah.
I wonder if the third person then also kind of feeds the dynamics. Like, I feel like in real life, sometimes we see like that where it's like, if you were alone, if the two of you were alone, would that even be what you wanted? It's kind of like you need the conflict or something to have meeting.
I'd almost feel like you're asking a question. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that goes into the mirror analogy that or metaphor, that you're each other's mirrors. And in our interpretation, the valet very blatantly, in direct address to the audience, says, and this is your mirror. And there's that whole metaphor of art holds up a mirror to reality. Sometimes I think art should shatter the mirror and say we need a new reflection. I think this play does a little of both.
Right.
That hopefully the audience sees bits of themselves in funny ways, in uncomfortable ways, but then also sees possibly a new self, that the ballet is sort of inviting the audience to say, hey, you can be like them too, or maybe something different. Will you shatter the mirror, or will you just accept the reflection that is given?
So I'm curious what everyone's thoughts are on the play speaking to our need for people to look like us, to the idea that, oh, when I look at stuff, I'm just so intrigued by where we've gone with this mirror discussion, right? Like when I look in the mirror, I can make myself look like I want. But if I don't have the mirror, I'm forced to have somebody else. And it goes to the question of, well, do we have the same tastes? How much of our relationships with others is sort of a requirement that you believe religiously like I do, you believe politically like I do, you like the same movies I like, and what that might, to you as actors, how does that drive you to present your characters?
I think Inez is very comfortable being at odds with any other person. I think that's what she experienced in her life, and so that's what she gives other people, especially that he chose to make her a queer woman in the time frame that it was written in the 40s. That was absolutely something where she would have been faced with a lot of opposition and indifference and things thrown on her and torturous things and feeling that she couldn't be herself. Something I'm more observed in the structure of the play and that we were sort of hinting on is that there's an interesting thing that I see in the dynamics of it where at all times, any two of the three people in the room could maybe get what they need or a falsified version of what they need from the other, but that third person watching makes them either alter how they're behaving or incapable of doing what they actually want. And I think that has such an interesting tie-in to nowadays social media, the likes and the need for, love from others and also something I face as a person, like the fears that I have of just radically being myself and fearing that I'll lose followers or not enough people will like this, or I'll piss off this part of my audience, and how that makes me alter the genuine and authentic parts of myself that I would otherwise show.
The watching provides a lot of the comedy in because it is funny, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I hope that our audience chuckles, and then maybe after the play is over, remembers what they chuckled at, and like, oh, I do that too, though. Do I? Is that funny if I do it, or only when others do it?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't reconcile with myself, even though I believe that, like, don't waste your time and put on makeup. Who are you? Why do you feel the need to put on makeup? Knocked on. It's like, I still do. Most women do, and it's just kind of like,
is it for you? Is it for them? Yeah.
And I want to say something about our production concept. I love how we have embraced the fact that these people can only begin to touch on these parts of themselves in a void, the void of death. And Daniel Duggan has put together an amazing set, which is naturalistic, but not realistic, which looks like just in a void, that they are literally in a void. And that's sort of reflective of the theater experience and some of what we want to do with Lumen Rep. We believe that the theater experience is a safe place to do this very dangerous work of facing ourselves. And so people come into this void, and whether they realize it or not, through this play, we are faced with ourselves. And then we got to go out of the void, and we got to go connect with people again. Maybe the right community, maybe the wrong community. We get to figure that out. And I think that's a beauty, that we are metaphorically giving people the tools to do this dangerous work in a safe place, and then maybe go live slightly differently. Maybe there is an exit for those of us still living.
Thanks. Are we missing the opportunity to talk about the valet? I know we haven't. Renault's not here to defend himself, and that's fine.
He's count.
Yeah, he.
I don't want to spoil too much for the audience with the valet.
Okay, yeah, because I would just say from the reading, as you know, I'm just watching everyone do this performative act, and I'm just grinning from ear to ear because it's funny and it's sad and it's hard. It's hard to not sit there and go, do I do that? And
I will say about the valet that if you've ever been terrified of demons, this is the play to come see because you will no longer be terrified.
And I
The
would,
demon that you want to have a beer with.
well, but I will also say that to honor what Sartre's doing here, you take the demon out of hell and you put the demon in earth. It's the indifferent God who is just kind of like, do what you feel like doing.
Well, he also, the mirror motif, but this isn't a spoiler, but he acts also as a mirror. He barely gives them anything and often just kind of reflects back what he's getting from them or something very generic and gives them nothing,
It sees, conceal.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
I don't want to say more about that.
How do you? I'm just curious. How, as someone who's going to be sitting in the audience watching, right? How are you going to present this? What's the beauty of, without ruining it, of you alluded to what the stage is going to look like, and then how are the characters? Are they?
Well, the ballet will break the fourth wall. A ballet direct address to the audience, and we're going to have some multimedia elements that sort of go into super reality, sort of bring the real world of the characters into the dead world of the characters, but also reflect our real world in real time. And there's two different times going on, the time in the afterlife and the time of the real world, which can get confusing. But all of those elements, I think, will hit people in different ways. And it may take people some time to catch up. Some people may get it right away and then think about it a long time after. I think it's the beauty of this show and our approach that you're going to be hit with stuff in the moment, and you're going to be hit with stuff 2 days after you've walked out of the show as well. It's going to stick with you.
Do you have any thoughts on the casting? I mean, y'all know each other. You've been in other performances. Anything you want to say about who's playing what role and whether it's the right person for the job?
Well, we were discussing this a little bit before we started recording, but Kate and I talked, and after the second day of auditions, we sort of came together, and me personally, I am so thrilled with who was cast, and I think that it's all actors who had a very specific take on the characters during the auditions, and I've been lucky enough to work with all of the cast before, and I'm thrilled. I couldn't be more excited to work with these people on this show.
And there's just not, just going to say it, there's just not the caliber cast that you can see in Northeast Florida that is local professional theater beyond this cast. The bar is so high with this cast across the board. It's going to be a powerhouse night theater. At Lumen Rep, this inaugural season, we've been taking big swings, big risks, artistic risks, financial risks. It paid off with Shakespeare, and I am fully confident it's going to pay off with no exit. And people who miss it are going to be part of that group, like the Shakespeare group who missed it and be like, why didn't I see that? It's a unique thing that I can't wait for people to see. No Exit plays July 28th through August 12th at Swisher Theater on the campus of Jacksonville University. You can get your tickets at lumenrep.org. And for all things Lumen Rep, take a look around the website. Maybe become a seasoned subscriber. Maybe find out how you can contribute and donate to professional theater right here, first coast.